it's just crazy when you see these angels and you see beautiful little babies like this with just these radiant eyes, beautiful smile that could just light up the world, and just ask, why would anybody want to extinguish a light like this? And that's why I try to just live by my example and just be the best father I can be. I haven't been a great father. I say I'm a good father, maybe not a great father, but I definitely try to live by the creed of advocating for children, especially in my own kids' life. And for the life of me, I can't understand why anybody would want to hurt an angel like this. But let me give you guys the backdrop of this story. Let me give you a disclaimer because you might not have ever seen my content before. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. So I'm getting this story from WXYZ.com, and thank you for this article. We're going to talk about this. This guy that you guys see on my screen. We're going to talk about him. Detroit, the father of a 9-month-old baby that he allegedly killed, is facing charges in her murder. The Child Protective Services supervisor involved in her case has been fired, which is not a common thing that happens. So that means they had to have been so bad with this that they ended up getting fired. The family says that the system failed this little girl, which I always believe the failure starts with the biological mother and biological father. I want to throw that out there. That's always where the failure starts. The system is just meant to be like a safety net, okay? But it doesn't always work, but it's not really meant to work, but I just wish people would do their job. If they do their job, if everybody do their job, they did their job as parents, we wouldn't even be in this situation, right? They're saying that the system failed this little girl and they're on the road to justice. It's been a long 9 months for the family of 9-month-old Kinsley Evans, so I love her name, including her grandmother, Asia Nelson. Last June, Kinsley's mother, who was too traumatized to speak on camera, which don't know about all of that, but nonetheless, she's claiming to be traumatized, wanted to give the baby's father an opportunity to see her despite not having custody. It's a decision the family now regrets. But I want y'all to look, and I know that you said we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and a lot of ladies are just attracted to men that just look like this. Whatever women are attracted to men that looks like this, it is what it is. But if I were to judge a book by its cover, regardless of whether you feel like it's right or wrong, and the Bible does not say that you should not judge. If you believe that, then you're reading the Bible wrong, you're interpreting the Bible wrong, you've heard it wrong, that's not right. You are supposed to judge. If you don't judge, you're stupid and you probably shouldn't be a parent, right? Not judging is what caused us to be in this situation. You didn't look at this man and say, what does he do for a living? What do y'all think he did for a living? Huh? Look his record up. Did you look his record up? Does he have a background? Does he have a history of being a thug lion, being a productive citizen of the United States of America and to the Republic? Right? Was he a thug? Was he a good parent? Do you know anything enough about this man, let alone him being the father, that would just make him a sperm donor at that point? That doesn't mean that now he knows how to behave as a father. Nothing about him, as far as his looks, says that he would be a good father. They quote, my daughter had let her go with her father for a couple of hours. Jesus. A couple of hours turned into this baby's death. We came back to pick her up and he would not give her to us. Nelson and her daughter begged and pleaded for the father of the child, 24-year-old Charles Evans. I told y'all, men under the age of 30 don't need to be fathers, to return Kinsley, even involving Detroit police and Child Protective Services, which both allegedly said that the baby was safe and there was nothing they could do. Every time the police went in there and looked at her, they said nothing was wrong with Kinsley. I called CPS personally myself, tried to get them to go out there. The family continuously went to the residence of Charles Evans to demand her return, but he refused. Then, after 3 weeks, Nelson received a call from the police to head to a local hospital. That's when they learned that Kinsley had died. I can't even walk through a baby section in the store without breaking down in public. I don't even want to hold anybody else's baby or be around little kids, according to Nelson. I think that's the grandmother. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy charged Charles Evans in connection with the homicide of Kinsley, and he was arrested on Saturday. He is facing felony, murder, and first-degree child abuse charges. In a statement, Worthy said, "Baby Kinsley lived a very short life of pain. The alleged facts are unbelievably tragic in this case. The injuries inflicted on this 9-month-old baby are too numerous to fathom." And they found out that they had made a mistake within a couple of hours. I want somebody to look this man's history up and tell me that he was a productive member of society, because everything about this is saying, nope, not possible. The CPS supervisor involved in her case was placed on administrative leave last June. However, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services now confirms that employee has been let go, been fired. So I'm not going to even read that statement. It don't matter. Charles Evans' probable cause conference is scheduled for March 27th, depending on when you're watching this video. It's in about a week. And the preliminary examination is scheduled for April 3rd, which is coming up in about another week. No, 2 weeks. Man. And look, the reason I continue to keep bringing these stories up is because I continue to keep giving these young ladies, these mothers, many, many opportunities, which is why I just think that maybe more people need to hear this word, spread these stories, share them in your true crime groups. Maybe just people just aren't hearing these and they don't know that this is a real thing and keep ending up in these situations well, he should know how to behave. Well, if he wasn't raised with a father, wasn't raised with a productive family, and most of our children are not raised in dual parent households with biological mother and biological father, being raised in a productive, non-abusive household, how can you assume that they're going to know how to produce that and be proper parents? You assume wrong. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. My biggest thing is I keep trying to tell people to stop going with what you feel and start going with what you know for a fact. But people don't want to do that. They ain't listening.
Well, a family still grieving the tragic death of an infant is hoping to get justice for baby Kinsley. Tonight, her father is now facing charges 9 long months after she died with signs of abuse. Tonight, 7 Action News reporter Ruta Ulsanaida talked to the child's grandmother about the arrest.
The father of 9-month-old Kinsley Evans has now been charged with her murder by the prosecutor's office. And the CPS supervisor that was overlooking her case has also now been fired.
People just don't know the mental part of it. Like, I can't even walk through a baby section in a store without breaking down in public. I don't even want to hold nobody else's baby or be around little kids anymore. Like, it's sad.
It has been a long 9 months for Asia Nelson.
That's the grandmother. Jeez. That's Kinsley's grandmother. Yep. Kinsley's grandmother. So Asia, if you're out there listening, I would love to talk to you. Give me an inbox, email me on the afcmatters@gmail.com, because I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I'm just saying you look younger than me. And I'm 40. She looks younger. She looks a lot younger than me. So how old is the mom? Like, is the mom like a teenager? Grandma. I mean, I guess I don't know what a grandmother should look like. She looks younger than me. I mean, maybe she's older than me. Who knows? Black don't crack though, I guess. Shout out to the grandma. Who knew?
Without breaking down in public. I don't even want to hold nobody else baby or be around little kids anymore. Like, it's sad.
It has been a long 9 months for Asia Nelson, the grandmother of little Kinsley Evans and Kinsley's aunt, Angelica Garrett. Last June, Kinsley's mother, who was too traumatized to speak to us.
Look at her. Oh my God, that's the mom. Yeah, I know the math will math. I get that. It makes sense. She could be in her late 30s and be a grandma, yeah, for sure. God, but the mom, that's the biological mom, and she looks no older than my daughter. My daughter is 16. She looks very, very young. She could even be in her 20s, I guess. She's probably like 17, 18, maybe 18. But she looked like 15. Young. She's a young spirit. Wow.
Asia Nelson, the grandmother of little Kinsley Evans and Kinsley's aunt, Angelica Garrett. Last June, Kinsley's mother, who was too traumatized to speak to us on camera, wanted to give Kinsley's father an opportunity to see her despite him not having custody. It's a decision the entire family now regrets.
It's not about who has custody. It's about the safety of your child. That's what I'm saying. Like, they worried about all this emotional shit. He doesn't have custody. Like, is he a good parent? Like, what does he do for a living? Like, has he proven that he'll be safe with your very young, fragile child? Let me be real with y'all. I'm going to tell y'all another story about my daughter's mom since we're going to put it out there. My daughter's mom was mama bear for damn sure, even with me. And y'all know I love kids. And we almost got into a small argument because I wanted to spend time alone with my daughter, to be this dad that I always wanted to be able to change diapers and feed my kid and watch my kids sleep and play with my daughter, teach her to talk and look into her eyes and all of that stuff you dream about just being a parent, being a model parent, right? And I remember after my daughter was born, my mom had to tell me, she was like, Jay, be patient. You're going to have your time. And I was just emotionally distraught because it took almost 2 weeks before I could finally start taking my daughter on my own. And then I realized, oh, this is tougher than I thought. So there were times I needed some help. My mom would just randomly show up. I've told this story before. But she would randomly just pop up at my apartment sometimes. She'd come by and either spend some time with me, or she would take my daughter and then go drop her off at my daughter's mom's house for me. Whether I needed the help or whether I didn't, you know what I'm saying? So it just became a thing where they just instinctively knew that these parents are going to need help. And that's why I don't understand how so many people can have just bunches and bunches of kids when me and my daughter's mom needed help with one kid. And she was very, very protective. Very protective when my daughter was first born. But after a couple weeks, oh, we was in a routine. I had my daughter, she had my daughter, I had my daughter. I ended up changing my job and I worked on weekends. I worked on weekends so I could keep my daughter throughout the weekday. And then her mom could go back to work. So we worked that out beautifully. That's not everybody's situation, though.
My daughter had let her go with her father for a couple of hours. We came back to pick her up. He wouldn't give her to us.
Asia and her daughter begged and pleaded for 24-year-old Charles Evans to give her back, even involving police and Child Protective Services, who all allegedly said the baby was safe and there was nothing they could do. Then, 3 weeks later,
My officer called us and said that we need to rush down to Sinai Grace. Kinsley has been pronounced dead.
Kinsley was found with bruises and, according to the family, ribs that had clearly been broken. The CPS supervisor involved in Kinsley's case was placed on administrative leave, but there were no charges.
Nobody was locked up for Kinsley's death until now.
Charles Evans has now been charged with felony murder and first-degree child abuse, and we've also now learned from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that the CPS supervisor on leave has now been fired. But for this family, it doesn't bring back their little girl.
It's too late.
One call back would have changed everything.
A visit. It's too late.
Charles Evans will be back here at 36th District Court next week, and Asia says she will follow this trial every step of the way.
Detroit police are investigating after a 9-month-old baby was found dead in a home earlier this week. On Monday, police say they were called to a home on Schaefer Highway between Plymouth and Fullerton. Family members identified the child as Kinsley Evans. A CPS worker is now on administrative leave following her death. 7 Action News reporter Whitney Burney spoke with family members who say the system failed them at every turn.
Asia Nelson says her granddaughter Kinsley Evans was always smiling.
She loved her Mickey Mouse clubhouse. I used to take her for walks after work.
A happy baby she'll never get to take for a walk again after the 9-month-old died earlier this week. Police say they were called to a home here on Schaefer Highway just off of I-96 early Monday morning. An hour later, Nelson would receive a call to come to Sinai Grace, where her granddaughter had been pronounced deceased.
She had a knot right here on her forehead, a knot right here, a big bruise on her jaw, and her chest looked like it was swollen.
Nelson says on Memorial Day, Kinsley's mother dropped the baby off to the child's father at his West Side apartment. But when she went back later that evening to pick Kinsley up, he refused to turn her over. Nelson says they repeatedly called police, CPS, and filed a court petition to try to get her back with no luck.
I screamed out for help from everybody. I went over there trying to kick the door down myself.
Which is illegal, ma'am. So another thing that y'all have to understand about this system is understand the legalities. And her doing that as a grandmother just because you feel a certain way does not make it right. He has legal rights to this child, which is why you have to think way before you get to this point. And look at this and ask yourself, is this man a suitable candidate to be a father? And the answer from the jump would have been no. So this is why I continue to keep presenting these situations to these ladies, to these women who clearly don't give a damn about nobody else's opinion, but they always out here just sharing on social media, some bullshit that don't mean nothing, and they want to prop themselves up and feel like queens and feel good, but they don't listen when it comes to critical information like this. You have to look at a man from the jump and say, is he an upstanding person? Is he a law-abiding citizen? Would he be a good father to a child that is going to need the most delicate care ever? And the answer to all of that is no. So that means you had red flags and yellow flags beforehand that you chose to ignore. Your daughter ignored. This is your daughter's situation, not yours, but because you are a loving grandmother and you care about what happens to your daughter and the extension of your daughter, ma'am, I get it, sis. I get it, sister. I really do. But your daughter is the one who has to make that decision as to whether this man is a proper father or not, and he wasn't. So he legally had every right to have custody. But do we care about what it takes before we get here? Clearly we don't. I guess none of it matters.
and the police wanted to arrest me.
Police say before they were called to this apartment building on Schaefer Highway on Monday, they were called here earlier this month for a welfare check. At that time, officers were able to view baby Kinsley, and she appeared to be healthy at the time. Police in the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services are now investigating. In a statement to our newsroom, MDHHS says a CPS supervisor involved in the case has been put on administrative leave. Nelson says if police and CPS had done more, Kinsley might still be alive today.
I just feel like the system failed us because I asked everything. Everything was pushed off, put to the side. It's very hard. She didn't have a chance.
You're right. She didn't have a chance because of who mom chose as a father. And that's what I'm saying. They're looking at this in the wrong way, and they're saying that this starts and ends with CPS, and it does not. It does not start and end with CPS. It starts with the semen and egg creation of life. The formation of life, biological mother and biological father, that's where it starts and that's where it ends when it comes to the problems. The safety net of the CPS, if that's what you're counting on in order to raise the kids and make the proper decision for these children, oh, we are freaking lost. It's CPS's fault and CPS should have been a better parent to these kids. So you just fuck as many thugs as you want, have as many kids by as many thugs as you want, and the consequences of that is just null and void, and the system better figure it out. Got it. Got it.
Right now, no one has been charged in Kinsley's death as police wait for an official cause of death from the medical examiner's office. Kinsley's family has started a GoFundMe account to help pay for funeral expenses. If you'd like to help, we'll have a link to that inside this story at WXYZ.com. For 7 Action News, I'm Whitney Burney.
All right,
Of course
thank you
they've
so
got
much,
a
Whitney.
GoFundMe. But I didn't find the GoFundMe, but nonetheless, I'm sure it's out there. If y'all want to donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to these GoFundMes to support dead children, then I totally understand it. Even though we won't take hundreds of thousands of dollars and support alive children, we won't even take hundreds of thousands of dollars to support channels that are trying to prevent the death of children. We won't subscribe, we won't comment, we won't share. We'll say, oh, Jay talks too much, right? Jay cries too much. I don't like what Jay said about the black community. I don't like what Jay said about thugs, and therefore we just go, And we're going to continue to just keep filling up these GoFundMes and supporting dead children, when in all actuality, we have a lot of alive children that could better utilize funds. This baby needed the help before we got to this point. That's the point. She needed an advocate before this. She needed $10,000, $100,000 GoFundMe before this. She needed good parents before this. She needed advocacy before this. She needed an advocate before sex. She needed an advocate not even knowing whether the mother of this child even had a father in her life. Maybe she didn't know how to pick him. Don't know what that looked like. Is she following in her mother's footsteps? Who knows? I don't know how y'all are choosing men. What y'all are finding as attractive qualities in men, don't have any idea. But it's not trending. It's not trending in a good direction. That's all I'm saying. That little girl is such a beautiful little girl, and just her smile is just an infectious smile. Little angel, young princess, R.I.P. So we're trying to advocate not only so this doesn't happen to babies in this situation, but we're trying to stop it before. We're trying to get ahead of this and stop this so that we're no more stories coming to my email. No more of these stories happen. But every day I look up and I've got 20 new emails. Jay, guess what just happened? Yet another story. Baby girl, I'm sorry. Maybe if my voice were bigger, maybe if my channel were bigger, Maybe if the support of the AFC, if all of us, if we had more of us, we could stop more of these things from happening. Educate our sisters, educate our young brothers, educate people about the way that families used to work and why the importance of a father and mother structure in the family is better than the direction that we're going. That's all I'm saying. Maybe the lesser of the two evils. But we need to have this conversation quick. So to this alleged father, this piece of shit, let this man go to prison for life. And mom, gotta pick him better. Beautiful little angel, and the world lost the true gem. Let me know what you guys think about this, okay? Thank you.